Yo, what is up everybody, and welcome back to another F1 2020 My Team video. We are getting ready for race number 13 of the 2020 Formula 1 season. We are heading to the Hungaroring for the Hungarian Grand Prix. The first practice session is going to be an absolute wash. Literally, it's going to rain for the entirety of FP1, so we're just going to get one program done and then move to FP2 to where we can get the rest of our programs done to get our resource points, because man, do we need those resource points. As you guys see on the performance index chart, we are just the third worst car on the grid, once again, only ahead of Williams and Haas, which is a far cry from where we were a couple of weeks ago. We were threatening to be perhaps the fifth best car on the grid behind the Racing Points, the Red Bulls, the Ferraris, and the Mercedes. We were right there with the McLarens and the Renaults and all of them, and all of a sudden, you know, we just haven't made the developments. A lot of our developments have been failing and continue to fail. Meanwhile, other teams are progressing, and it all showed up last week in Silverstone, where we were just off the pace. We almost got points, but we just let it slip out of our hands on the last lap of the race. Got a P11, which was still good for where, you know, our car was expected to perform, but you know, it might be more tough times judging by the practice sessions in Hungary. So you see, once again, Carlos Sainz bringing in a lot of resource points. That's going to allow us to reapply for this chassis upgrade finally. And that's all we can do as we get ready for one-shot qualifying. So yeah, we're not even making much progress. We're just reapplying for an upgrade that failed earlier. So hopefully, once we get these upgrades in the car, finally the ones that failed that we're reapplying for, we can at least make some progress back up the index chart. But for now, we're just playing catch-up more than anything else. And as you guys see, we are down in P20 after the first set of corners. Lewis Hamilton looking like maybe he's on pole. He's battling one of the Ferraris in this provisional pole battle. As you guys see the delta up ahead, we're in P11, P12. I'm actually feeling pretty good about where we might actually be able to qualify. This Hungarian track, I feel like, is a track that I'm good at personally, and I think it's a track we can make up time on the AI as far as, you know, car to driver performance, to where we can outperform the car a little bit. Being best of the rest, I'm not sure, but we're flirting in that territory right now. P8, P9, if we could get a top 10, that would be definitely a welcoming sight, considering where we were expected to qualify, which was P19 after we did the quality sim program. We're 6/10 off the pace of Lewis Hamilton after the second sector, still sitting in that P8, P9, now dropping down to P10. We're probably not going to gain much time in this final sector. If anything, we're going to lose time. We're just hanging on to the top 10. Now all of a sudden it's dropping down to P11. Hamilton looks like he's about to secure pole position, which he will, and for us, we drop like a rock, and we got to make sure we even qualify 14th. Yes, we did. P14 for the Hungarian Grand Prix, which is still a bit better than what we should be qualifying. As you guys can see, we completely out-qualified Carlos Sainz. Last week, it was pretty close between myself and Sainz. This week, we just straight up out-qualified Sainz, and we beat in a Renault and an AlphaTauri and even George Russell, which we weren't really expected to do. So we did a bit better, but look how close our times were to Ocon and Norris up ahead. So it could have been even better. So there is definitely some potential for us to get points in the race. Claire, what is up?
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. It's been a great qualifying session for you. Are you going to carry that momentum into the race?
You know, I actually think that we can carry this momentum into the race. I feel like we actually could have qualified better than we did.
Interesting result today. Would you say that you're happy with your performance?
Yeah, no, I actually would say I'm happy, because we were expected to qualify 19th and we qualified 14th.
Is there anything that you think gave you the edge over your rivals?
So which department do I feel like boosting up? As long as we answer the question, that's all we need to do. Because, of course, last week I messed up by not answering a question and we missed out on a bonus. So I'm going to make sure I answer every single question.
Appreciate your time.
It's race day in Budapest as we get ready for another round of the Formula One World Championship. We don't expect too many retirements at this track. There are plenty of current and former drivers with flawless finish rates here. In particular, Ralf Schumacher. He made it across the line in all 10 of his Hungarian Grand Prix starts. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, overtaking has always been difficult on this typical 2.7-mile circuit, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. Let's hope we're in for another one here today. and I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Let's start with Racing Point. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Albon, Charles Leclerc and Bottas, Ricciardo, Perez, Stroll and Antonio Giovinazzi, Norris, Ocon, Cook and Raikkonen, Gasly, Russell, Romain Grosjean and Carlos Sainz, Kvyat, Magnussen, Mazepin and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Track position is definitely king at the Hungaroring, so we are without a doubt doing the one stop. We're going to hopefully get a good start in this race, because wherever we end up at the end of the first lap might be where we finish this race. So without further ado, 5 red lights on and a long one. 5 red lights finally out, and we are underway with the 2020 Hungarian Grand Prix, getting away in P13 after Kvyat had a grid penalty. We are probably going to have to go around the outside, a lot of cars covering up the inside, and we're going to go as deep as we can. Someone's locking up ahead. We're side by side with the Racing Point, now ahead of both the Racing Points. We're next to Kimi Raikkonen, battling for P8 on the back of Valtteri Bottas, and we have the inside, and we do end up clearing Raikkonen, who's now under attack from Lance Stroll. Up ahead, that is indeed Bottas, and ahead of Bottas, that's our rival Ricciardo, once again doing wonders in that McLaren. He is in P6, easily best of the rest. He might get that for his second consecutive race weekend. Meanwhile, for us, it's P8 for now. I'm not sure we'll be able to keep up with Bottas up ahead unless Ricciardo truly holds him up. Otherwise, these top guys might get away, and it's probably going to be up to us to try to defend against Lance Stroll as long as we possibly can. Defending against Stroll at this track is going to be a lot easier than playing defense last week at Silverstone. One, because I feel like our pace is better here, and two, you know, Silverstone is such a high-speed track, and, you know, there are more overtaking opportunities. Even though it's not easy to overtake there are more overtaking opportunities for the AI at least. So, you know, it's mainly this long front straightaway where we have to worry about Stroll putting us under attack. But of course, Stroll is on the soft compound tire. All the top 10 runners started the race on the soft tires that they qualified on. Ourselves and the rest of the cars that qualified in the back, you know, 11th on back, we all chucked on the mediums. All the cars, you know, 11th on back are probably going mediums to hards to the end of the race. So, you know, the guys who are on the softs right now, they're going to have to pit a lot sooner than us. I think everybody in this race is going to be going to hards until the end. It's just the guys on softs are going to have to pit a lot sooner and stretch their hards further than us. So we pretty much have the strategy advantage, long story short. I don't know why, you know, that took so long to explain that one. Nonetheless, you know, you guys saw the replay of the start of the race. A lot of people covered off the inside. I figured the inside would be the better lane to have, but since so many cars protected the inside, the outside was actually the better spot for us to be, because there was just so much space for us to go so late on the brakes while everybody was kind of bottlenecking that inside line up. So we fast forward to lap 6 to, you know, where Stroll isn't putting us under too much pressure. It's really himself and Perez that are behind us, but of course they're on the softs, which is still the faster compound right now. And you see we go a bit wide on the hairpin, and that's going to invite Stroll to take a look on the inside, and Stroll did not need an invitation to try to pass us here, but he doesn't have the move done, and we've got the inside for the next hairpin, and we will fend off the Racing Point, both of them, and hang on to P8. As long as we can keep the Racing Points behind us until they have to make their pit stop, which should be fairly soon, I think we should be able to finish ahead of the Racing Points. We just need to keep them behind us as long as we possibly can, which isn't too much of a problem right now. That instance that I just showed you guys was literally the only time Stroll put us under any pressure, and that was more of my mistake overshooting the hairpin. As you guys see, it looks like Perez is coming into the pits right now, and a lot of the top cars are coming into the pits. We got a McLaren, a Red Bull, a Mercedes, and a Ferrari all in the pits. That's going to move us up to P4 temporarily, but of course, we still have to make our pit stop. That'll drop us eventually. What would help our race out potentially is a well-timed virtual safety car. and or just an actual safety car. Could make things pretty interesting. We are due to pit around lap 16, I believe. As you see, the tires are not doing too bad right now. They can easily go until lap 16. They could probably go until lap 20 at least, judging by the wear, maybe even longer than that. But the reason why we're going to pit on lap 16 is just because fresh tires are worth a lot at the Hungaroring. Of course, you know, track position is just worth that much more. That's why we want to do a 2-stop. So, at this point in the race, we actually have the lead, and we have Antonio Giovinazzi behind us. Giovinazzi started this race in 10th place, and Russell started a lot further back than him, I believe, and they're somehow running right next to each other, but they're not gaining on us. We have pretty much equal pace to the Alfa Romeo at Hungary, and because of that, you know, you see Norris, Ocon, all these guys, they're just stuck behind the two Alfa Romeos. So having Giovinazzi and Russell behind us is pretty much a good thing. We need those guys to be our bodyguards as long as they possibly can to keep the fast guys like Norris and Ocon behind us. So we finally come into the pits on lap 16, so you'll notice that one, Russell is staying out for another lap since Giovinazzi is in this lap, but two, you see all the top guys, Hamilton, both the Ferraris, both the Red Bulls, easily passing by us. Eventually, I believe you'll see Ricciardo and Bottas. There they are. Bottas still has not gotten by Ricciardo. Bottas is easily faster than Daniel Ricciardo, but he's just stuck, and that proves how hard it is, especially for the AI, to pull off overtakes at this track. So, you know, track position truly is king. We come out of the pits in P9, but of course that is what George Russell still needing the pit. So once Russell makes his pit stop, we should be back in P8 where we were before the pit sequence began. And you notice the racing points are nowhere to be found. I believe both the racing points, since they pit early, got stuck in traffic for a couple of laps before the pit sequence cycled out, and they are just not in the running at all to try to get points. I don't even see those. There they are on the mini-map, so far behind the pack that currently has Giovinazzi, Norris, and I believe Russell in there. And once again, Giovinazzi is easily our best friend. Giovinazzi is not faster than Norris, but he has the track position. As you see, that's Carlos Sainz pulled off to the side. And as you guys see, we are just a scotch faster than Giovinazzi. We're either a little bit faster or on pace with Giovinazzi, and that's all that we need. As you see, Bottas has finally gotten the job done on Ricciardo. It's taken until lap 24 for Bottas to get that move done in a Mercedes against a McLaren. So, yeah, there's no way Norris is going to be overtaking Giovinazzi if it took Bottas that long, unless Giovinazzi literally retires from the race. Speaking of retiring from the race, our teammate Carlos Sainz has retired from this race with a mechanical failure. He's the only car to DNF so far, and that's not great because we want to try to get that sponsor bonus for completing 75 laps in a race weekend, but I think we should be able to get it. I think Sainz got far enough in this race, plus, you know, all the practicing myself and Sainz did. I think we should still be in the good. Meanwhile, this race was, I would say, uneventful, but I was still, you know, pushing for all it was worth. Like, I was still running these laps as hard as I could. It's not an easy Sunday drive in P8 for us because I have to do everything I possibly can, you know, push for every 10th of a second every lap to try to make sure we stay ahead of Giovinazzi, keep him out of DRS range so we don't have to worry about getting into a battle, because you see Giovinazzi has a couple of cars behind him. He has Norris, he has Russell, and I believe like both the AlphaTauris are in that area, so you know, thankfully, that did not become our problem. We were doing just enough to keep Giovinazzi behind us. This last lap, we were definitely doing conservative, so you see Giovinazzi's actually cutting that gap up a little bit. It's still going to be a good result for the Alpha team to get a point. It's going to be a good result for our Cookie Monster team to get 4 points out of this race. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton. He does not suffer a retirement this time around. He gets the win at the Hungaroring. For ourselves, it's officially a nice and solid and uneventful P8. We didn't have to battle too hard for this one. It was literally just all done on the opening lap. A pretty fortunate opening lap for us. If we didn't get all those positions, you know, passing both the racing points, passing both the Alfa Romeos, all that stuff, I don't know what kind of battles we would have been in during the race, but thankfully, we didn't have to find out. We ran our own race in our own space the entire, what, 35 or 36 laps and brought home a P8. That's all you can ask for sometimes. Sometimes you just need these uneventful races to make up for the really exciting races like we've had the past couple of weeks at France, at Austria, at Silverstone. So, yeah, Claire, I don't know what you can ask me about such a race like this, but go ahead.
The fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy. You were cutting your way through the field during the race.
I guess you can ask a question that really doesn't pertain to us since we didn't make overtakes. Alright, there we go. We finally answered it.
You're beating all expectations. Would you say we all underestimated you?
Here's Claire asking us the same question she asks every week.
That was a close finish. How are things between the two of you?
Here's Claire not clarifying whether it's Ricardo or Kvyat. I'm assuming Ricardo.
It was more like Dodgems than Formula One today, wasn't it?
I really don't know, Claire. Like, our race was literally as clean as it could have possibly been. So, you know, not my place to answer.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Even though we had already answered 4 questions during the race weekend, I was still scared if I didn't answer that one that, you know, I would get reprimanded and I wouldn't get sponsor money. So I'm answering every question for the rest of the season just to make sure we get our sponsor money. I'm not taking those chances. Even on a question like that like really did not pertain to us at all because we did not get a scratch on our car. Signs, on the other hand, is going to cost us about $30,000 in damage. I don't know what happened before you retired, or maybe just the engine, something, or I don't know. It's going to cost us $30,000 though. So, not great from Carlos Sainz in his second race at the Cookie Monster team. At least he brings resource points. So even if he doesn't get an actual point on the season in our car, but just brings in resource points, that's fine by me, I suppose. So Sainz is just here to help develop our team, not to help us in the constructors standings. You know, because our chance in the constructors standings, we're not worried about that this season. It's really just beating Haas and Williams, and we had a successful season, and like maybe beating Alfa Romeo or something. So you see, we're reapplying for, or actually we are applying for just a straight up upgrade there. It's nice to see us actually applying for upgrades and not reapplying for failed upgrades. So before this video ends, we actually have a mid-season interview with this dude. I forget his name. Maybe we'll find it out right now.
Well, it's great to be back at your headquarters, and I've got to say, an awful lot's changed since we were last here. Let's dive in with some questions. Your team's had their first win in Formula One. Is this a sign of things to come?
I think it's William Buxton, but this is quite the first question. This is a question I didn't expect to be answering.
Carlos Sainz has often surprised his critics. Will you be able to help him live up to his family's legacy?
Okay. So Carlos Sainz's father was a former rallycross driver, so that's the reasoning of this question, but kind of a random question.
At the moment, you seem to be a solid mid-tier team. What do you think will take your team to the next level?
This is really just about which department we feel like boosting up right now. We just applied for a power department upgrade, so it would be nice to get them up, but the aero guys need help too.
Do you see your relationship with your second driver being long-term, or will you be looking for someone else if you're successful?
This is a pretty legitimate question because it's not set in stone whether Carlos Sainz is going to be our driver long-term. It would be nice to have Sainz on our team long-term, but I'm not sure about that. We might at some point chase, a Lando Norris or a George Russell. Who knows? But for right now, like, Sainz is only 25 years old, so I would say Sainz is here for the time being.
Your second driver really seems to be improving at a rapid pace. How dedicated are they?
All right. At some point, we have to ask the question, is this my interview session or Carlos Sainz's interview session? Like, what are we doing? I'm answering questions about Sainz.
It's been wonderful to spend some time with you. Best of luck out on track.
I understand us signing Carlos Sainz is a big deal, but like, come on, what was that interview session? I was hoping we got something where we could call our sponsors out so we could get more bonus money. But anyways, we are officially gonna enter the mid-season break, so that's like 2 or 3 weeks off for every department, so we don't get any money during that time. But now we are back after the mid-season break, and we're gonna get ready for the Belgium Grand Prix. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video, as we have one more upgrade fail, of course. Leave a like on the video if you guys enjoyed what you guys saw today. Subscribe for more F1 2020 My Team videos. We are just off the resource points for reapplying for that aero upgrade, too. Like, come on, man. Yeah, so leave a like if you guys enjoyed what you guys saw today. Subscribe for more F1 2020 My Team videos, and I will catch you guys next time. Thank you, as always, for watching.